Hey everybody, welcome back to Quali-Tea time, and happy Pride Month, and also this happens to be my birthday month, so I guess it was just kind of foretold, like 50 years ago, that yeah, I would be very, very strange. Let's start with the bad news, shall we? It is a new month, and that does mean new Patreon payments, and all sorts of things are gonna be a little bit more affordable fairly soon, but I'm not starting this month in a great way, it has to be said. And I am still looking for jobs. I am still looking around, quite devotedly, in fact. But I believe I've said this enough. There's just nothing. There isn't really anything. And I figured I might as well try and actually explain this, because I saw this coming like 4 years ago. Let's start with the more positive light of this, which is that I am valuable. I do actually have skills. I do actually have a work ethic. I am actually capable of doing things. I am not remotely basing this proclamation on some kind of self-worth issue based on me in a modern society, although certainly modern society doesn't make it easy. I have a bachelor's degree in computing, I have a higher national certificate in digital forensics, I have a boatload of demonstrable work in media, parts of which you are watching this very second. I am definitely someone that could be put to use in a company and be given money for it. Just not here, basically. And more or less, it's not even specific to Middlesbrough, it's actually a fairly common thing across most of the Northeast. The Northeast is, for those of you who are outside the UK, very much a more industrial kind of area. A lot of the more media things tend to happen way south, like Midlands or even London kind of area. That's where the bulk of media in the UK comes from. Now, there are game studios here, I should note. There are game studios in Middlesbrough and its surrounding areas, and they actually come from the same place I do, which is Teesside University. A lot of the people that come out of Teesside University find that there isn't really any work for them in the area, so they get together and they form their own game studios, and if they're lucky, those game studios are enough to perpetuate themselves through the rest of the game industry. I was not one of those people, because I'm an introvert and I'm not great at making friends. But Middlesbrough itself actually values substantially more physical kind of labours. So they want bricklayers, they want painters, they want haulers, they want, for some reason, a lot of care workers, which is its own thing that you need to be actually qualified in, and that takes about 2 years plus to train in. So that's not helping me at all. And there are, in fact, a handful of retail jobs going currently, but the problem for those is I'm autistic. I have only so much energy to deal with people in a social setting, and I'm not very good at dealing in a social setting in general, so I can't really do that for 16 plus hours a week. There's one or two that are fairly low traffic that I have applied for, that I could definitely deal with, or at least could deal with for a few months to figure out something better, but there's like 3 of those kinds of jobs. Just in general, there are like 3 retail jobs in the area currently, and I've already applied to most of them, so yeah. I suppose the next obvious question is, why don't I just move somewhere that has more work for me? And the answer is I can't. We moved in November to get here, and even if I could just ditch everything here, like I would be leaving Fuzz behind, I would be leaving my landlord in a hell of a lurch. Even if I could do that, I don't have the money to move. I can't afford to put down a deposit on another place. I can't get all my stuff there. I cannot afford to leave Middlesbrough. And what's more, Middlesbrough is actually a good place to be relatively broke. Middlesbrough is very cheap because it is heavily impoverished by virtue of the steel industry moving out. I can commute, but I don't have a driver's license, and I don't have a car. Can't afford to have a car, even so much as off the road. So, hey, there's another couple of things that prevent me from getting a job. But I can go to the train station, and that means going through the very unpleasant and bigoted Middlesbrough to get to the train station, where it's probably going to be filled with very unpleasant and bigoted people, going to a different train station where I then hopefully have a job within walking distance of said station, and that commute is untenable. As a commute, that's fine for a lot of people, it is not good for me. That's not something I can do, and also that kind of thing eats into both time and money, so then means whatever job I end up getting at the end of that train line has to be sufficiently affluent and whatnot. Now, the other option there at the end is that a company could actually personally relocate me. They could say, hey, we'd like you to come over to, say, Stockholm, Sweden, or whatever. Because I think Mojang put out a job offer recently that could be interesting to check out. But that's going to be in Sweden, so a whole bunch of other issues there. But the problem is, I don't have any... I have a boatload of experience. We know that. I've programmed, I have made videos, I've done all of this for years, but I don't have any experience in a company doing that. So I would be an entry-level worker. And no company in their right mind is going to pay to relocate an entry-level worker. So that's not happening, and also those jobs, believe me, I've looked, I can't find any of those jobs that'd be willing to relocate anybody. So yeah, that is the current situation. It's especially bad in my case, but it's not unique to me. It is very much a problem going out across the bulk of the northeast and the north, and more or less anywhere slightly more north than the Midlands. And even the Midlands aren't great right now. The job market in England is just a complete mess, and it has been for about half a decade plus. I can't speak to more than that because that's the portion of it I've experienced. So I knew, once I started doing content creation, that trying to get into a quote-unquote real job would be basically impossible. In part because by the time I started content creation, I'd already been trying for a year and gotten nowhere. And that was when I was fresh-faced out of university. I've, if anything, gotten more valuable since, and I can't. My dad has recently come out of a job as basically a chemical plant manager for about 34 years, and even he's having trouble finding more work. You'd think he would be basically invaluable to anywhere running anything remotely like what he did, but the jobs just aren't there. So again, it ain't just... This is not me, like, doomsaying. This is a really bad situation for everybody, and it has only been made worse by the recent shift of the economic support system we have here to a system called Universal Credit, which I've already discussed, but to summarize it, Theresa May's government screwed us all over, and even the people having to actually operate this system are very well aware and vocal about how terrible it is. So... yeah, England is not having a good time right now, and me struggling to find a job is just a sort of microcosm of it, so bleh. But there's all the bad news for you. Now, of course, I mentioned it's my birthday month. The P.O. Fox has had its video, and that was for the last month. There'll be another one at the end of this month, unless we get a whole freaking ton of gifts to open, I guess, midway through it. But the P.O. Fox is open, and if you have anything you want to send in for our birthdays, that's Fuzz or I, then, get sending it quickly, especially if you're outside the country. You probably should have been sending it months ago. Yeah, so just as a heads up there. The other thing is, I have a dental appointment this Friday, and it's not your usual dental appointment. This upcoming dental appointment involves me being knocked the hell out, because the alternative would be sticking a needle into my gums, and having a needle pointed directly in my face and going into it is a terrifying nightmare scenario for me. So I'm getting an actual, like, cannula in my arm, and I'm getting actually just straight knocked the hell out. So I'm actually not going to, like... according to, like, the documentation for this, I am not going to be allowed to work for 24 hours after that. I'm not even going to be allowed to operate the kettle. So, Fuzz is gonna have fun with that, but so are you, because I'm definitely going to attempt to stream on Friday, if indeed that is remotely physically possible. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of after effects it has on, like, playing Dead by Daylight. Anyway, here's the schedule. On Thursday night at 9 PM BST, we have Midnight Warframe with some spooky boys, hopefully. And then on Friday at 9 PM BST, we have Friday Night with Dead by Daylight, where I've just come around from dental surgery, so I wonder how well we can play with built-in latency. Then on Saturday at 7, we have Dungeons & Dragon Hats over at twitch.tv/thedragonhat, where the trio is under house arrest. What does Lady Valerai have in mind for them? And followed at 9 with the Carousel. We're playing some random games as ever. And lastly, on Tuesday at 9, we have Building Blocks, where we're steadily progressing for the development of Blood Metal. And the videos you might have missed for the week. We have an instance of Dailies by Daylight, where I try out a succession of dailies with undergeared and underpracticed killers, starting with Hatchet Time with the Huntress and a trip to the ski resort for Hillbilly. We also have an instance of Various Oddities Showcase, introducing the Teleportation Preventing Dimensional Anchor and the Chunk Loading Living Terrain family of spells. And an episode of Just the Basics Factorio, expanding the iron to keep up with current developments, they being mostly bullet related. And we have, for May 2019, the P.O. Fox with a nice little new necklace. hand on to the questions. So as always, these are drawn from the comment section of the preceding vlog. If you haven't done that part already, then hey, if you have a question, drop it down below, and we'll see if it gets answered next week. Our first question of the week comes from AI13. What's the worst horror movie you've seen? It's important to note, there's a lot of bad horror movies, and they are in general kind of enjoyable in their own way, as long as you're not... as long as you're taking them more as a comedy than anything else. Like, for instance, I enjoyed watching Alien vs. Predator 2, which is considered to be a utter abomination of a movie. A horror movie I have seen that I would consider to be god-awful would be Sliver, and I still can't believe that Nathan Fillion, of all people, signed on to that movie because it is just straight awful. It's really, really bad. Wivercats asks, do you have any series plans for Various Oddities? Now, Various Oddities is the mod I'm currently developing for my main kind of show of things. It's by far, at like 30,000 plus downloads, my biggest received project. I don't have any plans to build a series directly around Various Oddities, but Various Oddities itself is a great toolkit for building maps and such, and that makes it very helpful when you're trying to actually do a series, because you've got a whole bunch of set building tools, you've got a whole bunch of mechanics you can build in to actually use in various things. So Various Oddities itself is not going to get its own series in the Lyingverse, but it will most likely be used in a lot of series for the Lyingverse going forward, because it is just such a handy toolkit to have. And that's it for today, so I hope you enjoyed the saga of job hunting and why it sucks for everybody, not just me. Yeah. Ugh. Hopefully we find some answer to that soon. A lot of people are being very optimistic. I'm not, but maybe I'll find a reason to be soon. And I'll catch you all as ever next time.